Okay, fine. I'll bite. As a fan of both the Vancouver Canucks and the Montreal Canadiens, I feel like it is my duty to go out there and talk about trade ideas that link both of them together. And when it comes to this name, this is a name that I think a lot of Canucks fans know is probably going to get moved soon, and a lot of Canadiens fans might actually be interested in, depending on who you ask. That's always the big thing about these trade rumors, right? Will the fans be happy? For the fans, we gotta seal the honeymoon. So today, we are going out there and talking about Vancouver Canucks forward Kiefer Sherwood. Chief Keef, as we like to call him around in these parts, a guy who recently scored last night to get all the way back up there on the score sheet. He's got 17 goals in 40 games this season. 21 points too. He is on pace for 35 goals over a full 82 and on pace for 43 points. Now, it's been an ongoing meme on this YouTube channel the past few weeks that every time we bring up Kiefer Sherwood's name, the guy's goal per game production just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. There was a time where he was on pace for 60 goals. There was a time he was on pace for 50, and then 45, and then 40, and now he's kind of stabilized at this 35-ish goal pace. I mean, 17 goals in 40 games is still relatively good, and the fact that he was able to break the NHL single-season record for hits in a season last year, all while combining that fireball energy package with all the goals that he has produced this season, it combines for a very unique player profile, and one that, especially when you consider that $1.5 million cap hit, should be seen as valuable. Hey, we had analysts going out there and writing saying if Mason Marchment and Philippe Deneau went for the trade returns that they went for, a guy like Kiefer Sherwood is probably good enough to get a first-round pick depending on how many other teams are interested. And we have seen a bunch of teams. San Jose, Vegas, Dallas, Boston, the Islanders, all these teams be interested in Sherwood this season. But today what I wanted to do was go out there and talk about the Montreal Canadiens, because there was an article posted on HabsFanatics.com by Elias Edmondson that I wanted to dive into here today, and I wanted to take a look at, so Canucks fans, please buckle up, take a look at this trade idea. The price the Canadiens would have to pay to acquire Sherwood is now known, the article goes out there and says. We'll leave a link in the description to this piece, but essentially, what the article goes over is a bunch of the trade ideas that we have been seeing other NHL analysts say. Here's what it would cost the Canadiens to acquire a guy like Sherwood. According to what's being said, the real debate isn't a second-round pick or nothing. It's more about who wants him with a contract extension and who is willing to take him as a rental. In both cases, Montreal has to keep a cool head, because a rumor market can explode within 24 hours. If Sherwood is strictly a rental, Montreal should not go beyond a second-round pick, period. If necessary, you add a fourth-round pick to get the deal done, but you keep the second-rounder as the main piece. The Canadiens do not have to pay as if the player is staying long-term. If Vancouver pushes for more, the right response is to make the offer smarter, not bigger. A conditional pick can exist without hurting. The second-round pick becomes a first-rounder only if the Canadiens win a playoff round, and only if Sherwood signs an extension. Without an extension, the offer stays at the level of a second, or you drop him down to a third-rounder. Now, I wanted to say this. Aren't conditional picks a thing of the past? I'm not too sure specifically when that will be going away, but I think seems like conditional picks are going to be on their way out at some point. If you're still able to make some sort of a second that gets upgraded to a first if you do this type of deal, then okay, maybe that's another element that we can explore. The article goes out there and shows off a quote from Elliot Friedman. I had people say to me they'll only get a second for Sherwood. I don't see that, Friedman said. I think they can do better than that. The bigger thing to me is who wants him with an extension and who is willing to rent him. You then had what Merrick and Pagnotta said earlier on the sheet, this was from yesterday, discussing Kiefer Sherwood. They also said that Vancouver has a price and whoever hits it first gets the player. Conversations have picked up and things could happen in a matter of weeks. A first-round pick plus or equivalent value is the ask. Now, again, not new information. We kind of recognize that that was the package ideal that Vancouver is looking for, but where does that leave the Montreal Canadiens? If you scroll down in this article and take a look at this, we will find out. If Sherwood comes with an extension, then Montreal can step it up slightly. A second-round pick plus a second-tier prospect such as a Josh Waugh or an Owen Beck is worth discussing. But you don't touch your top prospects, and you don't give up two high-end assets for a depth player. In short, the opportunity exists, but so does the limit. If it turns into a bidding war, Kent Hughes has to walk away and keep his picks. So, that's the trade package that's being proposed here. Kiefer Sherwood, with an extension attached in exchange for a second-round pick and one of Josh Waugh or Owen Beck? Okay, let's go out there and talk about each of these guys. So, Owen Beck, 21-year-old center. I think a lot of Canadiens fans see good value out of Beck and what he can provide long-term. 6 feet, 198, a right-handed guy, a 33rd overall pick by Montreal 4 years ago. I was about to say 3 years ago. No, it's 2026 now, folks. Owen Beck this season has 11 points in 22 AHL games and 1 goal in 9 NHL games. He unfortunately has not really been progressing upwards point production-wise, although I think with every passing NHL game, a lot of Canadiens fans can say that they are still seeing a lot of those tools ironing themselves out, his skill translating to higher levels of play. Owen Beck, if everything works out to the best of his ability, he can be a very versatile Jake Evans type of a guy. Good defensively, can produce some offense, is never going to be a top-tier player, but if he is a third or fourth-line center on a cup-contending team, you're probably happy with that. Meanwhile, you talk about Joshua Waugh, a guy who has had a lot of star power in prior years as well. He's 22 years old, 2021 draftee by Montreal, 5th-round player. Honestly, I do think the time for Montreal to trade Josh Waugh has passed. The guy was so valuable when he was playing at the World Juniors with Connor Bedard, and he had 11 points in 7 games, and he was at double a point per game in the QMJHL right after being drafted. And heck, even in the AHL, the guy has still been decently productive. This year, he's got 18 points in 21 Laval Rocket games. The issue with Josh Waugh was never a question about his hockey IQ. We knew that was there. The skill, the way that he perceives the offensive zone, how he's able to thread the needle with passes and get these open lanes. The problem is, the guy just does not do too much when he doesn't have the puck, and his foot speed does not help him. Josh Waugh has gone through a number of these difficulties throughout the course of his career as a hockey player. It's why he dropped all the way to the 5th round in 2021, despite the fact that he was a first overall QMJHL talent. For me personally, when I look at Josh Waugh, I don't necessarily see a player that exhibited all of the point production in the Q and who was going to exhibit that same production in the NHL. Like, the guy was so productive in his Draft Plus 1 and Draft Plus 2 campaigns that I remember a lot of Canadiens fans were saying, like, yeah, this guy is an elite talent, a 5th round prospect that is going to shatter worlds, and he's so valuable. Heck, playing with Connor Bedard at the World Juniors certainly helped him. And if that was the case, maybe the Canadiens probably should have traded him earlier. But now, yeah, you can say that he is still young. He's 22. It's not like it's the end of the road for Joshua Waugh, but I just don't really see him as a main trade asset if it's coming back for a guy that can actually be an impact forward on Montreal. Speaking about that, though, Kiefer Sherwood, I think this guy would be such a good acquisition for the Canadiens. He would play a similar Brendan Gallagher-esque role, maybe just with a better pure shot, and I can tell that Canadiens fans would love this guy to death if he were to be a Hab. But the price? It's got to be a little more than just a second pick and a Owen Beck or a Josh Waugh. I'm thinking a lot about prospects that I don't know if I can say because Canadiens fans might get ticked off at me. But if you have any ideas, you can let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about the idea of a Kiefer Sherwood trade to the Habs? What do you think about the potential trade price? Who do you think should be going back over? Article's going to be linked in the description. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.